All right, everyone, we're going to go over a pretty heavy topic today. Let's talk about endgame gearing and really planning out how you actually really work through your gear in a way that's going to make sure that you end up with good, solid accessories. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I know that my accessories are definitely not perfect. I've got decent engravings here, but it's by all means not perfect, especially that level 2 cursed doll. That one's bothering me, but importantly is you don't want to go too crazy gearing right now because a big part of it's going to involve accessories, and the current accessories that we have only have +3 and +3 to their engravings. And later on, we're going to get accessories that actually have the capacity to go up to +5, which is going to completely replace all the accessories that you have. So while it's important to get a nice set of accessories and start working on your gear in a way that gets you decent engravings, you really don't need to go all out and maxing yet because it's all just going to get replaced in a matter of time. So let's kind of talk through the process of actually going through your gear in a way to make sure that you don't mess it up and end up with butchered engravings or mess it up and end up wasting a lot of gold buying things that you realize didn't really work out very well. And you want to plan out your engravings and you want to plan out your gear in a way that makes sure that your engravings work out pretty well. You don't want to go too crazy over. Like you can see that my keen blunt has 1 point over. That's fine. But I've looked at some people's engraving sheet where they're like 6 points over, 7 points over. That's just a waste. You don't get any extra benefit for that. And you also don't want to plan out your gear where you end up coming short. Like again, this cursed doll, it's driving me a little crazy, but I'll fix it and work on it a little bit later. You don't want to be like 1 point short of getting to level 3, or you also don't want to have your negative engravings be too big of a problem either. So those things are very important. Now let's talk about kind of the order in which you want to work on your gear that's going to cause you to end up with as few mistakes as possible and make it just a lot easier for you. And you're going to want to first of all start off, very importantly, with the ability stone. And there's several reasons why here, but what I want to say here about the ability stone is I would not go too crazy unless you got really lucky. I wouldn't go too crazy working on ability stones until you get to the 1371, which is going to be the tier 3 legendary ability stone. The reason why I say this is because this ability stone has a total of 9 dots that you can get on everything. And the epic one, if you get lucky and you get a decent one, that's fine. But the difference between this one only having 8 total dots versus 9 total dots on the legendary one is going to make it a lot easier to get a workable ability stone. And when I say workable, a really good benchmark that keep in mind here for a good part of this video is try to aim for 6-6. That's not going to be the catch-all for later on in the game, but you're going to understand why I say 6 and 6 for now. And if it doesn't end up 6-6 or better, that's totally fine. But really aim for that, and it's going to really make it a lot easier to kind of understand how to go about the engraving building process here. So if you can end up getting an ability stone that is 6-6 or better right off the bat with 2 engravings that you're going to use, that is going to make your life so much simpler when it comes to everything else that you need to do with gearing up and getting your engravings. So first of all is to work on your ability stone. Make sure that you pick 2 engravings that you're going to use. Try not to have too many bad engraving dots, of course. And then what you're going to want is you're going to want full epic engraving books. So the green, blue, and purple books for 2 other engravings. If it's the same ones as on your ability stone, that's fine. That might even make your life easier. But at this point in the game, getting your engraving books should not really be too big of a problem. If we go to the market and we take a look at even like the popular engravings, like if we look at Grudge, you can see here that epic books are down to 30 gold each or less. So for basically 1,000, 1,500 gold, you can get a full set of books, all the green books, all the blue books, and all the purple books that you're going to need in order to get your engravings, your engraving equipment slot to 9 dots. So when you learn the green, the blue, and the purple, that means that one of the 2 slots that you end up equipping your engravings to, these right here, they're going to give you 9 engraving points. And this is why I said, like with your ability stone, just to make it simpler here, and it doesn't have to work out this way, but just so you can understand it, if you have a 9 engraving equipment ability slot here, and then you have a 6-6 ability stone already right off the bat without even jumping into the accessories, you can see that if you have 9 points here and then you have 6 points, let's say 6 grudge ability stone, that already is 15 dots, which is going to be a level 3 grudge. And then if you have another equipped engraving, 9 dots, and then the second engraving on your ability stone, another 15. Right off the bat, you've got 2 maxed out engravings, and we haven't even gotten into the majority of what you're going to get your engraving points from, which is the accessories. So that's going to be the start. Get those taken care of before you even jump into accessories. Now we get into the fun part, which is accessories. And the biggest takeaway, probably the biggest takeaway from this video, and the biggest thing that I want to say is for all of your accessories, I highly, highly recommend that you take +3 to one of your class engravings on every single one of your accessories. And if you actually take a look at my gear, you can see that every single one of my accessories has reflex +3 on it. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is this is going to give you 3 times 5, which is 15, and that's going to end up giving you your class engraving maxed out. You don't need to worry about using it for your engraving slot. You don't need to worry about getting points anywhere else, because if you have 3 on all of your accessories, it's going to just give you enough points to get your maxed out class engraving. The other reason why is because getting one of your engravings on accessories to be your class engraving is going to be much, much cheaper than looking for 2 good non-class engravings. Like if you were to look for Grudge and Keen Blunt, or Grudge and Cursed Doll, or any other 2 non-class engravings, and it was +3/+3 on your accessory, that's going to be a ridiculously expensive accessory, because a lot of accessories that drop are automatically going to have a class engraving on them. Hunting for +3 to your class engraving as the first thing on your accessory is going to be really cheap. And I actually managed to get all of my accessories for less than 1,000 gold. They were 100, 200, you know, some of them were like 50 to 100. I think I paid like 300 for one of my accessories, but they've got very solid engravings, okay stats, and I'll get to that in a second. But importantly, they were all really cheap. And if I were to be looking for, you know, instead of like Awakening and Reflux, or not Awakening, actually, that's not one of the engravings I'm using, Cursed Doll, Reflux, or Keen Blunt and Reflux, if I tried to get Keen Blunt and Cursed Doll, that would be way, way more expensive than getting Reflux and then a non-class engraving. So that should be half of the engravings on your recipe, on your accessories right off the bat, takes care of your full level 3 maxed out class engraving. Now, this is where you have a bit of customization here. It's the last 15 points, the remaining 3 points on each of your accessories, where you have a couple of different options that I want to lay out on the table here. And you can kind of pick really what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish, and it's also going to be class specific. Like substats for some classes matter a lot more than they do for other classes. Now, if you try to get another fully maxed out engraving, which you could, like if you take your equipped engravings and you have a 6/6 ability stone, that's 2 level 3 engravings. Then you take 3 points to your class engraving on all of your accessories, that's another level 3 engraving. And then because you still have 15 points on your accessories, you can still get +3 to an engraving on all 5 of these accessories. You could technically get another maxed out engraving. So you could actually end up with 3, 3, 3, and 3 for your engravings. And you'd be surprised. It probably won't even cost you a whole lot there. But you're going to take a massive, massive compromise by doing this with your substats. Because if you try to get another really good engraving set, it's probably going to be very difficult to look for specific substats. You're going to probably just have to buy the accessories that have the engravings that you want on them and not really get too picky about the substats. Now, on the other hand, if you are willing to compromise and if you don't care at all about having a 4th level 3 maxed out engraving, you can probably get away with getting whatever substats you want on your accessories. If the only thing that you're worrying about is just your +3 class engraving, and then whatever other engraving it is, it doesn't even matter. I would still be mindful of the negative engraving and making sure that you don't end up with an absolute mess of negative engravings. I paid a little bit of attention. I made sure not to even get to level 1, but just make sure that this doesn't get too carried away. But if you don't care about the second positive engraving at all, you can really, really customize your substats on your accessories a lot. If you want to go for like a level 2 engraving, then what I recommend is on the necklace, this is going to be the most expensive piece to really try to get 2 good substats on. because the necklace is the only piece that actually has the ability to roll 2 substats on it. So if we're going to forego some engraving points somewhere to try to really get substats, I would recommend doing it on the necklace, because this is where, economically speaking, it's going to be the best to work out for you. Now, another thing that you can end up doing is if your ability stone is not 6/6, like mine isn't. My ability stone, it rolled really well for Cursed Doll, but I got screwed on Keen Blunt here. Now, if you have a 6/5 or lower ability stone, you can then end up using some of the points in that last set of engravings you can get on your accessories to kind of fix your ability stone, if that makes sense. Again, it all really depends. This is kind of the point where you're going to have a bit more customization, really depending on what your goals are with, what you're trying to accomplish for your character. But I kind of wanted to lay out the order. It's very important to do this in the correct order and to work on the ability stone first, and to kind of approach it from this way, because that's going to give you a lot more customization with what accessories to get, and you can't really control the RNG of your ability stone. So if you do your accessories first and then you don't end up rolling the ability stone that you need to make your accessories work, well, then you kind of have to just go and buy a complete new accessories, and that's going to cost you a lot of Phaons. So definitely don't do that. And the last thing I'll end off with is something I mentioned towards the start. Don't get too carried away. You still want to have decent engravings, you still want to have decent gear, but don't go crazy min-maxing, because again, later on there's going to be new accessories that are released that have much higher potential, and everything that you get now is just going to get replaced. So this gearing is really for the current meta and the state of the game that we're in right now, and not later on when we have the new set of accessories released. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope this helped out a little bit. Thank you guys for watching, and if you did, consider leaving a quick like, consider subscribing to the channel, and feel free to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/salt, where I'll be streaming Lost Ark as well as other games. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and until next time.